Hello, and welcome back to Overbooked. I'm Amanda, and today we're going to be talking about the worst books I read for 2020. So, I don't want anyone coming after me because, everyone's reading tastes are different, and if I talk about a book that I did not enjoy today in this video and you loved it and you think I'm completely wrong, these are just my opinions, and they mean literally nothing. I don't have a super sharp, mind on literary stuff. So I could be completely wrong and have the wrong assumptions about these books. So please do not come for me. All right, let's get started. These are not going to be any particular order. We're just going to list them off. I went through the list of books that I read for 2020, and I came up with like 4 books that I would say were terrible, that I super did not enjoy. So the first book that I did not like was Conviction by Denise Mina. This was the first book that I read for 2020, and it was a dud. Way to get things started. I read this for the Reese Witherspoon book club, so hint hint on why I'm not really doing it anymore. Just didn't enjoy that. This book is like, how do I describe this book? So this book follows our main character who lives with her husband and their 2 children. And one day, like, her husband leaves her for her best friend, and he just takes her kids, which I guess is okay. And she, like, just loses herself in this true crime podcast, which I'm like, maybe you should be using your time for something else. Getting a lawyer, figuring out how to get your kids back, figuring out how you're gonna, like, live your life now, like, delete your friend and your husband off social media. There's a lot of other productive things you can be doing right now. But she's listening to this true crime podcast, and she's just like immersed in it. And then she realizes that she recognizes one of the people on the podcast. And so she decides to set off on this like investigation onto what happened to this person that she knows. Along for the ride is her best friend's husband, boyfriend, somebody. And he's just there the entire time, which is just, to me, was very weird. Like, I'd be reading and I'd be like, oh yeah, this fucker is here. Like, what is he doing here? I don't understand. It just was very weird. I didn't really get any of the things that happen in the book. I thought it was confusing and just not captivating at all. And the entire time I was reading it, I was just like, what the heck is happening? I don't understand. Just wasn't a great read for me. So the next book that I didn't enjoy is another Reese Witherspoon pick. Ooh. It is the Scentkeeper by Erica Biermeister, something. And I will give some credit because like this book kind of deals with like magical realism or like fantasy elements. So that's never been my jam. It's not my jam. So I found those parts really weird. Not to say that that's a weird genre or very weird elements. It's just never been for me. So like when I was reading, I was like, well, I don't know. I can't get into it. But the story just was weird. So the Scentkeeper is about the main character who grew up on an island with just her and her dad. And he was like this person who studied scents. And he had like this machine where he could capture scents and like put it into this bottle and whatever. I don't know where to go from there because it's just strange. Everything that happened in this book was strange. So eventually, I'm trying to, how to describe it without spoiling stuff. Eventually, like, her father is gone and it's just her, and she has to get off this island, and she gets adopted by this like older couple. And she never really feels welcome, which I never understood because they treat her like a daughter. They bring her in. They're very nice. They seem like great people. And she's just like not having it. And then she falls in love with this boy. And honestly, I can't even remember because the story wasn't that great. Like, the last quarter of the book is just so dumb that I just did not... I was reading it, but I wasn't absorbing anything. Like, I remember finishing the book and being like, I don't even know what I just read, but I know I finished it. Like, I've read every word in here. I just didn't comprehend it or didn't absorb it into my mind. Yeah. It was just weird. This literally is not making any sense. But she eventually, what I guess I'm trying to say, what she does in the last half of the book is she runs away from these people who adopted her, brought her in, treated her as her own, and she goes to the city to find her mother. And it's just like this very weird, complicated relationship and journey of hers that she has when she's like in the city searching for her. And it was just weird. So much else to say. I found it very weird. Not for me. The next book is The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, and I did a rant review on this book, so I did not like this book. So this is a prequel to The Hunger Games, and it details the life of Cornelius Snow and like his childhood and like, well, not really his childhood, but his like teenage years like leading up to before he goes to university or college or whatever, and how like the mentors of the Hunger Games kind of started. I don't think this book was needed because I don't think it gave us a lot of context really. Like, he just was a shitty dude. Like, he's a shitty dude from the beginning. I don't see like what really made him a shitty dude. I don't really, I guess, get any of that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know, like when he did a shitty thing, it wasn't like shocking to me that he did it, because it was like, yeah, he's fucking Cornelius Snow. I don't know what to, I'm not surprised. I just thought there was a lot of random parts of this book that did not get fleshed out all the way that I would have appreciated, or characters who didn't get their full story told. I just was not a fan of this book. If we had a prequel to anything, and I think I said this in my rant review, I would have like appreciated like what the fuck is her name? Katniss's like parents' like story, how they got there, or like the guy that's like Katniss's mentor. I don't remember his name, but like his backstory, like that would have been kind of cool to hear about. Just literally any other character that would have been great. So it was not for me. If you guys haven't checked out my rant review, obviously I get way more in depth on my feelings about that book there, so check it out if you haven't already. Okay, so the last book, and this is probably the worst book I think I read, hands down, for the entire year, ever. Probably in the 2 full years I've been really like on this reading kick or train. It's called The Good Girl by Mary Kabuka. I thought this was stupid. It's so stupid. If you like this book, I'm sorry. I just thought it was dumb. I thought it was so stupid. It's this like thriller book about a girl who gets kidnapped, and her parents are trying to find her, and we get differing perspectives. Like, we get the perspective from the cop who's on the case, her mother, and then her kidnapper. It's just dumb. I don't know what else to say. It's just a very weird story. So it's a family in Chicago, and he kidnaps her and takes her to like northern Minnesota, in this cabin to live out this thing. That's literally it. That's the story. It's just her kidnapped, and then they try to find her. There's like a twist at the end, but it was like you figure out this book. I'm telling you guys, you know exactly what's gonna happen in this book. First chapter. I called it. The entire thing. It was just, all right, well, this is stupid. Why am I even reading this? My major thing that I did not like about this book was the subtle, but not so subtle, like racial profiling and racist comments made throughout the book. Numerous times we're reminded that there are seedy parts of Chicago, where they point out there are a lot of people of color in these neighborhoods, and that's me putting it delicately. We talk about how there's this like bad guy in the book and how dark he is. And it's also just really elaborated upon just like how different pockets of communities of color are just super dangerous and not trustworthy. And then just the reminder of how, like, the book reminds us how white the main characters are, because they tell us constantly if they're the only white people somewhere. And I'm like, yep, we got it. Like, I'm like, when I tell you, there's one part of the book where there's a character who keeps telling us she is the only white person in the room for like 2 pages. Like, I am not over exaggerating. And I don't get the point. Like, I don't get the point of the added description. We got it from the first time you mentioned it. We got it. So it was just very hard to read, especially since, like, you know, one of the perspectives is from a cop and he's like patrolling Chicago and you're like, should you be a cop? I don't think so. It seems terrible that you're in this position. So that was just like not great. And just like to the like they're just like the story just was stupid, very predictable. I just felt like there wasn't a lot of like great writing. It was very just basic, like, we drove down a road. There was snow on the ground. Snow was white. Snow on the tree. I drove a car. It was just like, okay, well, I think a lot of people could write this book. So did not enjoy that one at all. So yeah, those are the books that I just did not enjoy for 2020. And if you had a book that you just hated this year and you just did not enjoy, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear it, love to hear your thoughts. And if you haven't already, make sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next time.